This is Group 5 with Wildlife Ecotoxicology of Pesticides with Raphael Fricker, Macy Richards, Garrett Neisler, Michaela Ford, and Sierra Sakowitz.
This slide is about the intended effects and research of pesticides. The first bullet point is the United States Environmental Protection Agency's definition of a pesticide. Another way they define the pesticides is if the labeling or advertising makes a claim to prevent, kill, destroy, mitigate, remove, repel, or any other similar action against pests. In the 1960s, research was focused on pesticide contamination, long-range studies on wildlife exposure, which mainly focused on the basis of environmental analytical chemistry. Today, research is based mainly on the mortality effects of pesticide use. Important vocabulary and definitions to know for the unintended effects of individuals includes neurotoxicity, endocrine disruption, immunotoxicity, developmental toxicity, which is irreparable or repairable, and impaired photosynthesis.
Different animals experience different unintended effects. One effect mammals experience is neurotoxicity, leading to altered behavior. They also experience immunotoxicity and can cause increased infection and parasite rates in mammals. Birds experience neurotoxicity, which impairs foraging and learning. Endocrine disruption can cause eggshell thinning, which results in reproductive failure. Different pesticides can have different effects. For example, DDT, a carcinogen, is found to have population-level effects on raptorial birds. Reptiles tend to face endocrine disruption that ultimately leads to reproductive failure. Amphibians also face endocrine disruption. Additionally, they experience developmental toxicity, which causes embryonic mortality, leading to reproductive failure. Fish experience things such as altered metabolism and developmental toxicity. Certain pesticides, such as organophosphates, cause neurotoxicity and unpredicted mortality in fish like Pacific salmon. Insects deal with neurotoxicity, altering behavior, leading to reproduced broths. Neonicotinoids have been found to disrupt cell membrane stabilization and immune function in bees. Lastly, plants and fungi experience growth modulation, altered metabolisms, and impaired photosynthesis.
Population level effects of pesticide. Population is where all inhabitants of a particular area. Examples of effects on pesticides on population were in figure 2, where mammals have increased mortality, birds experienced mass deaths leading to population decline, reptile territories decreased, amphibian population decline, fish experienced mass deaths, insects and vertebrates decline in colony size and experience mortality incidence. Plant and fungi experienced impaired phytoplankton. Effects of global change on pesticide consequences. In figure 3, it shows how global change affects different sections of our ecosystem, and it also shows how pesticides also affect them sections. Global change has increased in nutrient supply and nutrient cycles. Also, pesticide has affected broader subjects that are parasite to host interactions, predator and prey relations, and pollination.
Ecosystems that are rich in plant and animal populations, as well as higher rates of nutrient cycling through them, are more resistant to stresses such as pesticides. However, ecosystems that are under relatively intense stress from pesticides fall into two main groups. The first group being ecosystems that lack complexity in their environment. The second group includes ecosystems that routinely receive large amounts of pesticides. One of these ecosystems that are susceptible to pesticide stress include crop ecosystems due to their monoculture. This includes cotton, corn, and other vegetable ecosystems.
Pesticides also degrade our water quality. Pesticides used in excess can run off from agricultural fields and eventually get into water supplies, like streams and rivers. They can also degrade the water quality through soluble pesticide particles being carried away by water molecules, getting into the soil layers and eventually reaching surface waters and groundwater. Even with low concentrations, pesticide particles multiply throughout the food chain and thus eventually cause harm to humans. This is known as biological magnification. The effects on humans are that they disrupt our hormones. To prevent this, filtering can be used, although high operation costs are associated with it, and can even cause secondary pollutants such as sludge.
Because pesticides can influence essential functions, including reducing species diversity, changing the pattern of nutrients, reducing soil, water, and air quality, and changing the resilience of an ecosystem, more research is needed on the impact of pesticides on terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems to achieve a better perspective on the impacts and cost of pesticides.
Here is our works cited and reference slide.